Welcome back. Let's dive right into our explainer on ISO/IEC 42001-2023, the continuous health cycle of AI systems. If you're building, managing, or auditing AI, you already know it's not just some static piece of code. It's a living, breathing ecosystem, right? It adapts, it learns, and most importantly, it needs constant checkups to make sure it's staying secure and operating within those strict parameters over the long haul. So think about this. What actually happens to an AI system after it passes its very first audit? It's a massive question because it totally shatters that dangerous myth that AI is a set-it-and-forget-it kind of technology. Far too often, organizations pop the champagne after passing that initial compliance audit, they file away the paperwork, and they think, awesome, job done. But with AI, wow, the exact moment you stop monitoring is the exact moment your system starts to drift. I mean, a model trained on last year's financial data, it might start making wildly inaccurate predictions when market conditions change tomorrow. It degrades, and it opens itself up to entirely new threats. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll hit 1. Evaluating AI improvement effectiveness. 2. Tracking AI performance KPIs. 3. Navigating updates and threats. 4. Preserving the CIA triad. And finally, 5. Building transparent audit trails. Basically, we're going to treat AI compliance exactly like human health, moving through this continuous cycle of diagnostics, adaptation, and really rigorous record keeping.
All right, jumping right into Section 1, evaluating AI improvement effectiveness. Because spotting a problem is really only half the battle. Proving your fix actually held up over time, that's the real challenge.
As the standard says, continuous improvement is one of the core tenets of ISO/IEC 42001-2023. Organizations must constantly evaluate their AI systems. And the crucial takeaway here is that rapid tech changes will literally cause your AI to degrade or fall out of compliance if you just leave it alone. Let's say you implement a fix for an automated customer service bot that started handing out bad refund advice. You can't just apply a patch and walk away assuming it's fixed forever. No way. You've got to constantly evaluate how effective that improvement is against brand new user inputs and shifting real-world conditions to make sure the fix actually sticks. Let's move on to Section 2. Tracking AI performance KPIs. We really need to look at the hard numbers here because checking an AI system's vitals requires some very concrete measurements. Take a look at this breakdown. Right now, we're seeing 85% of AI operations aligning perfectly with regulatory standards, which leaves 15% non-compliant. Now, when you take corrective action, you absolutely need to watch that 85% compliance slice actively grow. It gives management and your auditors this immediate, quantifiable snapshot of the system's health. If you push an update and suddenly that 85% drops to 80%, bam, you instantly know your recent improvements are actually failing, and you need to roll that right back and review. And this is really cool. Look at the massive drop in incident response times here. We're going from 48 hours in the past, way down to just 12 hours currently, right after applying corrective actions. This right here is what effective improvement actually looks like in the real world. You know, it's not just about the mathematical model, it's about the governance surrounding it. By tracking this specific metric, we can confidently prove to an auditor that our updated protocols are genuinely working, and they're pushing us closer and closer to that ultimate 8-hour target. So by monitoring these core diagnostic KPIs, we finally move away from kind of vague, hand-wavy goals and set a rock-solid baseline for the AI's health. Like, are your AI incidences actually decreasing over time? Well, that's your risk reduction rate. Are you genuinely closing the security gaps you found in your last audit? That's your audit findings resolution rate. We also absolutely have to track compliance percentages and incident response times. Tracking these metrics takes abstract compliance ideas and turns them into hard, actionable data. It proves your continuous improvement engine is running like a well-oiled machine. Moving right along to Section 3, navigating updates and threats. Because, let's face it, your AI doesn't live in a vacuum. The whole world is constantly updating, and your system has to safely adapt to that. This is where a structured change management process acts as your absolute shield. You never ever just push an update live to an AI system. First up, planning and risk assessment. Second, communication, letting stakeholders know what's happening. Third, training and awareness for your staff. And finally, testing and validation in a safe sandbox environment. Following this structured approach is what stops a totally innocent upgrade, like say just updating a basic dependency library, from accidentally introducing some massive vulnerability that brings down the whole operation. Now for Section 4, preserving the CIA triad. Even in the middle of all the chaos of system updates and external threats, we have got to maintain a stable core. And that core is the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Look, no matter how much your AI system evolves, this triad is the absolute cornerstone of your information security management system, and it has to remain untouched to ensure trust. ISO/IEC 42001 is heavily integrated with traditional InfoSec, so your AI governance is resting entirely on these three pillars. Honestly, if an improvement that's meant to boost processing speed accidentally compromises the confidentiality of the data, well, that's a failed improvement, plain and simple. Let's break down exactly how each of these pillars defends the system during an update. Think about what happens when you retrain an AI model. Confidentiality ensures that sensitive training data isn't leaking out to unauthorized people. Integrity guarantees that an attacker hasn't subtly poisoned your dataset to manipulate the AI's future decisions. And availability, that ensures the AI stayed online and reliable for the business while all this heavy lifting is happening behind the scenes. Finally, we're at Section 5, Building Transparent Audit Trails. This is the medical record phase, where we actually verify our AI's long-term health through rigorous documentation. Okay, let's walk through this timeline, because this shows exactly how documentation proves your fixes actually work. Say you find an issue during an initial audit in month 1, right? So you apply a corrective action in month 2. But, and this is key, the cycle doesn't end there. By month 4, you've got to do a follow-up audit, specifically to test if that fix held up against new data. Then a management review in month 6 makes sure leadership is fully in the loop. Documenting this whole chronological journey, that's exactly what gives an auditor absolute confidence in your management system. And let me be clear, these nonconformity reports are not just bureaucratic busywork. They are the ultimate proof of transparency. When a failure happens, you don't just sweep it under the rug. You need a clear description of the exact issue, hard evidence of the failure, the root cause of why it happened, the risk implications on your security, and specific corrective actions you took to fix it. This comprehensive document literally becomes the blueprint for your continuous improvement. Just look at the difference here. If you're relying on poor documentation, like memory, vague statements, or you're missing evidence weeks after an incident, your data is practically useless. But contrast that with robust documentation on the right. We're talking real-time tracking, super specific details, and crystal clear evidence. When an auditor comes knocking, asking why a model acted weird 3 months ago, this robust documentation creates a verifiable trail. It turns past mistakes into actionable safeguards instead of just forgotten notes on a messy desk.
And here is a number you absolutely need to remember: 72. Standards like GDPR, when integrated with ISO 42001, demand rapid incident responses. You might be staring down a strict 72-hour breach notification window. And let me tell you, when an AI data breach hits, you do not have time to scramble for disorganized records or guess what went wrong. Your audit trails have to be pristine and instantly accessible, so you can pinpoint the root cause, assess the impact, and notify the authorities well within that critical 72-hour window.
So I'll leave you with this. Is your AI auditing a static checkbox, or is it a continuous evolution? Securing tomorrow's technology absolutely requires continuous documented evolution today. Implementing ISO/IEC 42001 isn't some one-and-done event. It's a fundamental commitment to giving your AI the rigorous, ongoing health checks it needs to survive and thrive in a really complex world. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep evolving.